Hello and welcome. You're watching Race to Power with me, Ananya Datta. Here's what is coming up. India is in the middle of its general elections with phase 3 beginning tomorrow. We get you everything you need to know. Presidential elections in the US are expected in 6 months from now. We do not have the confirmed nominees from either of the camps, but Donald Trump seems extra confident. This weekend, he's arranged a special dinner party. With most were focused on the food, Trump was eyeing his next vice president. Let's talk about the mother of all elections in India. Tomorrow is phase 3 of this mammoth exercise. We bring you everything you need to know.
Midway in the Indian general elections, the fight for the lower house of the parliament is now in the third of its 7 phases. With 545 seats, the representatives are directly elected to the house. 191 of these seats were contested in the first 2 phases last month. The third phase will see voting on 93 more seats across 10 states. Let's put this on a map. All the constituencies of Gujarat will vote in this phase, barring Surat, where BJP has already won unopposed. Karnataka will conclude its elections in the third phase with polls in all remaining seats. Goa will have voting for both the seats in the coastal state. Voting for the Anantnag-Rajouri Lok Sabha seat in Jammu and Kashmir was slated in phase 3, but has now been deferred to May 25th. Let's look at some of the key phases. Union Home Minister Amit Shah is seeking re-election from Gandhinagar, a constituency previously represented by BJP stalwarts like L.K. Advani. Shah faces Congress leader Sonal Patel in the seat. Nationalist Congress Party leader Supriya Sule is seeking re-election from Baramati. She faces her sister-in-law Sunetra Pawar, the wife of Deputy CM Ajit Pawar. Baramati is a closely watched contest in Maharashtra. Former Congress leader and BJP stalwart Jyotiraditya Scindia is contesting from Guna in Madhya Pradesh in a direct contest against Congress leader Rao Yadvendra Singh. Former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan is contesting from the Vidisha seat after 2 decades. He had won the seat 4 times in this Hindi heartland state. Chauhan led the BJP to victory in state legislative elections in late 2023, but was asked by the party to hand the baton to a younger leader. Union Minister Prahlad Joshi is fighting from Karnataka's Dharwad in a bid for a 5th consecutive term. The BJP leader faces tough competition from Congress's Vinod Asuti. Coming to logistics, 1 million polling stations have been set up for the election, with 15 million polling agents and 5.5 million voting machines. Voting starts at 7 a.m. local time and ends at 6 p.m. So if it happens to be your turn to vote, go out and cast your vote. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The election season in India has been marred by a high-profile sexual abuse case. Just on Friday, we had asked you, how did the accused, a sitting member of parliament, Prajwal Revanna, leave India without protocol? 2 days later, there are reports that he might be returning. Let's pick the story where we left. It has been about a month since the case came to light. Thousands of pen drives were circulated in public places where Revanna was seen in explicit videos with the women he had allegedly abused. Women, some over 60 years old, could be heard in the clippings to begging to be let go. Reports say the women are government employees and domestic helps. Since then, a handful of former helpers have come forward with their official complaints. While his father remained in Karnataka, Prajwal Revanna immediately fled to Germany. The case has expanded since. The special investigation team is probing the matter. Just on Saturday, father H.D. Revanna was taken into custody for kidnapping. Now, a blue corner notice has been issued against MP Prajwal Revanna. The notice urges foreign countries to provide information on wanted people. The blue corner notice was issued after Revanna ignored 2 lookout notices sent by the SIT team. The probe agency has also launched a helpline number for the victims. Any crimes related to the father and son duo can be reported through the number. The team has also promised anonymity for those who report the crimes. The local media says many women survivors are fleeing their homes either because they are being threatened or due to stigma. Notably, Revanna was jointly fielded by JDS and Bharatiya Janata Party. He is the grandson of former Prime Minister and JDS patriarch H.D. Devegowda. His uncle H.D. Kumaraswamy was the former Chief Minister of the state of Karnataka. Shifting focus now, Donald Trump may be in the middle of his first of many criminal trials, but that has not deterred the former US president from forging ahead with his bid for the upcoming presidential elections that's slated for this November. The weekend saw Trump organize a fundraiser in Palm Beach, Florida, that also served as what many call an audition for vice presidential nominee. What has been a quiet campaign for months now appears to be gathering momentum. Over the weekend, Trump gathered hundreds of donors and prominent Republican lawmakers in Florida. It was also the first time that potential vice presidential candidates were reportedly scrutinized by Trump's backers, donors and the returning presidential candidates' teams as well. The list of Trump's VP contenders includes Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, J.D. Vance of Ohio, and Tim Scott of South Carolina. Among the U.S. Congress representatives are Elise Stefanik of New York, Byron Donalds of Florida, and also on the list of potential candidates to be second in command are Governors Doug Burgum of North Dakota and Kristi Noem of South Dakota. Several officials from the Republican camp and political analysts have pegged Rubio, Vance and Scott as the top contenders for the VP position. However, it will be weeks before Trump makes any announcements on the choice. Now for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live from New York. Susan, good to see you. We are hearing some names over the weekend that could be part of the potential vice president of Donald Trump. That is, if he becomes the nominee for the Republicans. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, those names are all viable. We're hearing that GOP insiders are pushing for Senator Tim Scott. He's African-American, and he's been sort of the voice of calm and reason in the Republican Party, trying to bring all sides together, including the Democrats. And they feel that, Tim Scott might be a better candidate than others. But, Donald Trump will ultimately make the final decision. I do want to say about Kristi Noem, it looks like her prospects went up in smokes after it was revealed that she shot her 14-month-old puppy because the puppy was misbehaving, and she says that the puppy was a danger to her family. But that really made headlines this past week, and she's just considered a dog shooter right now, and that's considered to be not very sympathetic. So that's what we know about Kristi Noem. We'll have to see, ultimately what the Trump campaign, what path it moves. But what we do know, and judging from these contenders, is that the former president is not going to pick a clone of himself. He's going to pick someone that's a little more measured, with a lower profile, but ultimately, someone that can also fight for the MAGA agenda.
All right, Susan, thank you so much for getting us all those updates from New York. Shifting focus to the UK now, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak fears that Britain is headed towards a hung parliament. Sunak has urged his cabinet to come together in the face of mounting Labour popularity. Now, the statement comes following the local election results in the United Kingdom, where the Conservatives lost control of 478 council seats. Calling the poll results bitterly disappointing, Sunak insisted, and I'm quoting here, Conservative Party is the only one with the plan to deliver on the priorities of the people. Election expert Michael Thrasher reflected on the local poll results to estimate the number of votes respective parties can grab in the upcoming general elections. As per the predictions and analysis, Tories are expected to win 27% of the vote, an underwhelming figure as opposed to 40% in the year 2021. The Labour is expected to make gains, rising from 30 to 34%. Thrasher also concluded that despite having majority in the House of Commons, Labour could fall short of an overall majority. Reflecting on the analysis, Sunak suggested that Tories will face a hung parliament with the Labour as the largest party. He added Labour will have to rely on smaller parties to gain majority in the general elections. However, Labour has held ground over not forming an alliance with any small party, including the SNP. While Sunak said that he understood voters' frustrations, he showed confidence in Tories making a comeback for another term. Despite the Tory showdown in local polls, the party chairperson Richard Holden has said that Sunak will head the party into the general elections. The reassurance has put challenges over Sunak's leadership to rest. However, Tory critics have asked Sunak to shift the party to right. Just on Sunday, ex-Home Secretary Suella Braverman said that Sunak's plan was not working. Taking a drive at him, she said that the Prime Minister should change course to a more right-bent approach to win back the Tory supporters. Now remember, Braverman is one of the harshest critics of Sunak. She did not ask for the leader to step down. She said that changing a leader right ahead of general election was actually impossible.
Removed back to your country, if it's safe, or to a safe...
Now, to understand things better, we earlier spoke to Nicholas Nugent, who is a senior journalist and former BBC editor. Listen to what he had to say.
Well, I agree that the Conservative Party appears to be in chaos, in a complete mess after these results, with no hope of winning the next election. And when they get into a situation like that, you get a lot of bickering within the party, between the right wing, the centre, the left, arguing that they should change their agenda. But it's all far too late for that, because we need a general election within the next 8 months. The expectation is it'll be in October, but it could be sooner, it could be later. It's the Prime Minister's prerogative to choose when to call the election. And instinctively, he would call it when he felt the Conservatives had the best chance of winning. Well, clearly, they don't have any chance of winning, so he might call the election sooner rather than later. We have to be ready for that. But his comment that you've quoted, that he thinks there'll be a hung parliament next time round, I'm afraid I discount entirely, because the figures from this election, and it wasn't a universal election, let me stress that, much of Britain, but for example, Scotland didn't have voting at all last week. So the indications from this selective local election are that the Labour Party would romp home easily and not need the support of any other parties to rule.
And with that, let's move on. South Africans are getting ready to vote at the end of this month. General and provisional polls will be held on 29th of May. The polls are expected to be the country's most competitive in 3 long decades and will test the dominance of the ruling African National Congress. Major election issues include power cuts, corruption, rising crime and high levels of unemployment. Citizens want change and their voices are getting louder. Singing, dancing, DJing. ANC is on the ground all across the country, campaigning and trying to win the hearts of its people. President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is seeking a second term, has said that his party is going to emerge victorious in the polls.
The workers of this country, the people of this country are not going to allow the ANC to go below 50%. They are working for an outright majority of the African National Congress.
The Democratic Alliance and Economic Freedom Fighters are the main opposition parties. Former President Jacob Zuma has backed the newly formed MK, or Spear of the Nation party, in a move that could potentially attract some traditional ANC voters. Now, Zuma, who still enjoys huge popularity despite ongoing court cases and allegations of corruption against him, was part of the ANC till he was suspended this January. The Durban High Court ruled in favour of the MK party in the latest of string of court battles between Zuma and his former political party. The ANC tried to stop the 82-year-old's new party from using the MK name, alleging intellectual property theft. The name of the opposition MK is identical to that of the armed wing of the ANC, which Nelson Mandela led from exile during the apartheid era. Polls suggest that the ANC might lose its parliamentary majority and may have to form alliance with smaller parties. Ipsos poll estimates ANC at 40%, the DA at 21.9% and Economic Freedom Fighters at 11.4%. Some opposition parties led by DA have already come to a coalition agreement and have signed a multi-party charter. Over 350 political parties have registered to contest in this year's election. Now our correspondent Kaldin Omu getting us more from Johannesburg.
With less than a month remaining before the elections, the political landscape in South Africa is undergoing significant shift. The voter discontent is on the rise, and uncertainty and desire for change makes this elections one of the most important. Polls suggest that the current ruling party is struggling to impress voters, and it has estimated that the support for ANC to fall below 50%. Opposition party leaders are confident of the ANC's fall, and analysts say it is going to be a difficult election for the current ruling party. However, ANC does not seem to be faced with all the noise. They say there is no other party that can work for its people like it has done over the last 3 decades, and remain confident that they will, without a doubt, come back as a governing party. This is Kaldin Omu from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
Let's shift focus to Panama now, where former Security Minister Jose Raul Mulino won the presidential elections held on Sunday. Mulino is a protege of former head of state Ricardo Martinelli. 64-year-old Mulino won the single-round first-past-the-post race with more than a third of votes cast. Even as the poll results were coming in, first runner-up Ricardo Lombana conceded defeat. Mulino was one of the favourites for the presidency after he stepped in to replace Martinelli on the ballot when the popular former president was barred from running due to his conviction in a money laundering case.
It is an honor for me, my family and my friends to receive this call. It is an enormous weight on my shoulders which I welcome with pleasure, but above all, with the firm and unwavering conviction to give my best to the country over the next 5 years.
As results trickled in, Mulino's supporters waved flags, cheered and clapped inside the campaign headquarters. Mulino was declared winner, having secured about 34% of the ballots tallied, with 90% of the total votes counted. Ricardo Lombana trailed in second place with about 25% of the vote and congratulated Mulino on his victory. Mulino faces the daunting task of mending social divisions and regaining the faith of an electorate fed up with political graft. That's corruption. Among his top priorities will be fixing Panama's pressing economic problems, tackling corruption and restoring the country's reputation as an investment haven. He will take office on July 1st for a 5-year term. Now, voters in Chad are heading to polls 3 years after their military leader seized power. This is the first presidential election in Africa's Sahel region since a wave of coups. After about 8.5 million people are registered to vote. The military leader Mahamat Idris Deby is front-runner to be Chad's president. He had taken over in April 2021 after the rebels killed his long-ruling father Idris Deby. Deby has promised to bolster security, strengthen the rule of law and increase electricity production in the country. But so far, his chief opponent is drawing larger than expected crowds on the campaign trail.
Today is voting day, and thank God we've come to vote for our President of the Republic. May God preserve him and our country. We are behind him because he has promised to fight unemployment. We hope he'll give our children jobs once he is elected.
Provincial results are expected by May 21st and the final results by June 5th. If no candidate wins over 50% votes, a runoff will be held on 22nd of June. The vote coincides with the temporary withdrawal of US troops from the country. Chad is an important Western ally in a region of West and Central Africa courted by Russia.
C'est une fierté pour moi et pour toute la délégation.
It's a source of pride for me and for the whole delegation to be here today, this morning, in this first office to observe. I say observe because it's a task. After here, we'll move on to other offices to observe. What's sure and reassuring is that we can already see that everything is going smoothly. In other words, Chadians have accepted democracy in Chad.
Now protests continue in Hungary, where thousands protested against Prime Minister Viktor Orbán yet again at a rally just weeks ahead of European Parliament and local elections due early June. The rally was attended by about 10,000 people in the eastern town of Debrecen, a stronghold of the ruling party. Now, Orbán's party have carried the town since the late 1990s, winning about 60% of the votes during the last election. This year's elections are seen as the first serious threat to Orbán in years.
Ahogy tudjátok, fiatal korában Orbán Viktor hasonló, az első kormányzása előtt hasonló kampányokat vitt végbe, és hasonló demokrata is volt, mint most Péter. De Orbán Viktornak az agyára ment a hatalom. Tehát nem szabad 8 évnél tovább egy kormányzónak, egy miniszterelnöknek se szabad hatalomba lenni.
The rally was staged by opposition leader Peter Magyar. Addressing flag-waving supporters, Magyar took aim at one of Orbán's core policies, criticizing what he called the extremely low level of child support allowances in Hungary. International watchdogs say Orbán has channeled European Union funds to businessmen close to his party. Orbán says Hungary is no more corrupt than other countries. And with that, we are wrapping up this Monday edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta. Goodbye.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST.